I'm Steve Butella. Welcome to Land Academy. Congratulations. You've made the first step toward financial independence through the purchase and sale of unwanted land. Is there anything better than undervalued real estate? We've created this environment to help real estate investors like you achieve their money goals through buying and selling unwanted raw land on the internet. And we're very, very good at it. In fact, we're the best in the business. You choose well. Our core effort between students and mentors has yielded thousands of completed transactions since its inception, which tells me it's working for us and it's working for our students. Hey, we provide serious advice based on 15,000 plus acquisitions and sales I've completed since the 1990s. Follow me through this program, make it your own, make a commitment to succeed, and it's possible to become financially independent in a relatively short amount of time. And if you get stuck at any point along the way, I'm here to help. Please reach out to me or my staff. We'll do our best to keep you on that path to success. You are not alone in this. We've left no stone unturned in our effort to help you succeed. This education program is set up into several chapters to help you learn. Included are instructional videos where you join me inside the computer, stories where I share experience-based advice, some tragic, some triumphant. And we also included real phone calls from buyers and sellers, with our commentary, me and my partner, Joe. So we're buying and selling unwanted rural land right now this week. We're doing it right alongside of you. I've been doing this for more than 15 years, and we share these real-time stories and events to help you learn. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm glad you've made this choice to join us here at Land Academy. And before we get started, let's try this fun and simple exercise. Okay, welcome inside the screen, everyone. We're going to go through a very brief, kind of fun initial exercise to get everybody's feet wet in the real estate business in less than 5 minutes and for free, like I just described. So let's jump on over to Craigslist in your area. For us, as you know, it's in Phoenix or the Scottsdale area. We are going to make a posting in Craigslist that attracts people who may have unwanted land in the area where we're posting in Craigslist. So let's post a classified ads. Wanted by owner. We want land. Doesn't matter. This is more geared. Doesn't matter the exact location. I'm going to type in my email address. We're actually doing this here for you. And I want you to do this in your area, obviously, or the area that you think you might buy really, really inexpensive land. So I've covered this in other parts of the package, but I'll briefly go through it. If you're in New York, let's say Manhattan, you want to post this maybe in the Buffalo area where you know there's very inexpensive land. If you're in the Los Angeles area, for sake of argument, you want to post this in, let's say, the Riverside or Inland Empire Craigslists, where there's less expensive, larger parcels. And I'm sure that we do a whole chapter. I think it's 2 chapters from now on choosing the right area. So don't worry about that too much. Let's just kind of get your feet wet here. And I did a little. This is included in the package at the end of the package for documents. This Craigslist posting content. If you'd like to just copy and paste it and change it a little bit, tailor it toward you. So we're going to say we want to buy cash. We have cash waiting for rural land or acreage. I'm personally in Scottsdale. This is my zip code, and here's the body content. I'm going to copy this, and we'll read it in a second. Okay, you can copy mine exactly, or you can make up some version of your own. I would encourage you to do some version of both. We have cash waiting for your unwanted rural land, any location, any state, any condition. We make offers on every property. So what we're trying to do is attract people who just want to get out of their property quickly and make a few $100. We're experienced real estate professionals. We're not licensed real estate agents. A lot of students I have are licensed real estate agents. Please leave that out. And check your local laws, if you're a licensed real estate agent, about posting this stuff. anywhere in the media. I know in Phoenix, in the Phoenix area and in Arizona, you have to really seriously disclose that you're a licensed agent in anywhere in the media. So please check that out. Jill and I are not licensed agents, and we make a big deal out of that because I think that there are some people, and God bless them, I think that they're a little bit skeptical about a lot of this stuff. So they, I don't think licensed real estate agents are on the highest trust list out there. So, but again, some of our most successful students are licensed. In cash if you're local, or in as little as 3 days if you're out of town. Call Steve or whatever your name is, obviously, and your phone number. No funny business. This is a real deal, and here's a little bit of background very, very quickly. And then I obviously have our website, and I don't write it like this, and I'll show you why. Like you would see it, because it trips all kinds of stuff for Craigslist, and it just, when you have an actual, it also trips a lot of spammers to do certain stuff. So when you write it like this, it kind of just says, piece it together and take a look at us on the website if you'd like. Not going to show it on the maps because it's not relevant. This has not have anything to do with us. Continue. Add some images. I will add, because I have 1 million images, our little logo here. Good enough. Let's preview it. I hope this is under 5 minutes. Phoenix, North Phoenix, doesn't matter. For sale. You could do this in Las Vegas. You could do it anywhere. Looks good to me. Publish. So they're going to send me an email in a second, and I'm going to click on it, and it's as simple as that. It's published. Now, what can I expect from this, and what can you expect from this? You can get 1 or 2 phone calls in the next couple of days saying, hey, I've got 20 acres over here. I really want to get rid of it. You can get no phone calls. I've had students publish 40 of these things all over the country, and with a fantastic response. In fact, they were emailing us and calling us saying, oh my gosh, what do I do? So, and my standard answer is, if that actually happens to you, and it very well could, my standard answer is continue to go through the package. I would actually tell these people, that your acquisition plate is full, or if you get a smoking deal, call us or email us, and we'll take a look at the transaction for you. So the whole point of this exercise is to get everybody, or to get you as a student comfortable with doing stuff about land on the internet, in less than 5 minutes. So I hope that helps. Join us in the next segment, please. You probably know by now that I've been buying and selling vacant land on the internet since 1999. I've completed the purchase and sale of more than 15,000 of my own properties, and since then, I've generated more than $20 million without borrowing any money or sharing in the equity or profit in any way. I founded this educational environment, Land Academy, to share this experience with you and to show you the ropes, right down to the last detail about how you can actually do the same thing I did, begin buying and selling unwanted rural land part-time from your living room for substantial profit. I'm not usually one to really talk about myself, but I'm sharing this story with you today because I hope it motivates you. I started exactly where you are right now. You probably want to take control of your own time and make a good living at something that you enjoy doing every day. Well, let me tell you, here's how it all began. In 1999, I was sitting at my coffee table in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, hunched over my laptop computer, searching through eBay. And I was amazed that the site had a real estate category at all, and that there were 10 or 20 properties listed, maybe 30. And I thought to myself, how could anyone buy real estate on the internet without first visiting the property? Who would do that? Well, 2 hours later, I purchased 80 acres in northern Arizona for next to nothing for my home in Pennsylvania, sight unseen. The price was so good, I had to buy it. So, this is when the internet back then had just begun. eBay was only a few years old. PayPal didn't exist at all. And Google was still in Larry Page's garage. I think it was called Backrub back then. And operating on the college's servers, on Stanford's internal servers, because they didn't know if it was going to work. Anyway, I mailed a check to the owner, and I owned that property in less than 30 days. I immediately relisted it on eBay, and I changed a bunch of stuff. I changed the presentation. I changed I added more pictures. I hired somebody to go take some pictures, added some maps, really beefed up the information about zoning and access and property attributes. Hey, and I sold it for twice what I paid, to my amazement, actually. The numbers, as I recall, I think where I bought it for about $4,500 and sold it for, $9,200, I think, maybe $10,000. I'm not sure. Anyway, I was hooked. My next thought was, how much did this person that I purchased it from, what did they pay? Was it a fluke? Was it a consistent thing? No matter what it was, I knew that I could do it, cheaper and better and faster than whoever that was. And, besides, nothing could have been worse than the job that I had at the time. Incidentally, a funny story about the guy that I did buy that property from. He's still in the business today. We run into each other all the time. His name is Dave. And I'll tell you, he probably has no idea that he saved my life. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment on Walnut Street in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And I worked as a nursing home acquisition manager for a really large accounting firm called KPMG. Actually, all my professional experience is on LinkedIn, and feel free to join me there. I connect with a lot of students there. And I haven't closed a deal in over a year, so I was running out of money. I smoked a pack of cigarettes a day. I was 20 pounds overweight. I drank too much. Depression was at the door, and I was only in my early 30s. So in a lot of ways, that real estate deal sort of saved my life because it kind of gave me hope. I went from brokering the most difficult real estate transactions, these are healthcare institution transactions that took a year to close, to being the sole owner in the most simple kind of real estate company in less than 30 days. So I'm sharing this again with you because I want you to identify with this, I hope. The differences between my former position and my new career were huge. To complete a nursing home acquisition, a broker needed to argue with teams of attorneys and accountants and administrators, and they're all trying to kill the deal at the same time. They don't want anything to change. The buyer, on top of that, the buyer needs a state and federal government approval, and it's based on the assessment of the merit of the actual transaction. And lenders and title people and real estate agents, they all need to be on the same page at the same time. And the financial statements and occupancy statistics, they need to support the purchase price throughout the whole 1 year process that it takes to complete one of these deals. The cards are really stacked against anyone to get one of these deals done. So I went from complicated year-long real estate transactions to my coffee table, my computer, and my checkbook. Just a buyer and a seller. No title person, no lender, no real estate agent or inspector or anyone else was going to kill that deal. In fact, if anybody killed it, it was me, the buyer. Well, I achieved a near 100% return on investment on that 80-acre deal just by signing my name twice. I sent the guy out there. He took some pictures, and I created some maps, and in no time, I was my own private investor. I didn't know it then. That was my dream all along. I ditched my job at KPMG and I moved to Scottsdale, where we still are. I accepted another position as an investment banker for my daytime job, and I worked on my own company at night and during the weekends. Back then, everyone had a fax machine, and I'm telling you this story, part of the story, because it's a lot like email now. During my time as an acquisitions manager at KPMG, I was in the practice of sending faxes to all the nursing homes in the country to see who had an interest in selling their facility. And what I learned from that is that this faxing method was a very effective tool to reach the right people. You're watching this because I've reached you successfully. So please take a minute or a moment and remember this word. It comes up in just about every module of every course of every educational package that we teach. Part of making a really good living in real estate is reaching the right people at the right time. So anyway, I collected a list of every real estate broker in the state of Arizona from the licensing board. That list, by the way, is still published I'm going to put it up for you, so if you want to go get it and do the same thing, that's fine. And I sent every office a fax overnight. And I sent it overnight back then because long distance rates were cheaper. This is how long ago this was. They were cheaper at night. The response was overwhelming. Owners and agents were ready to give their useless property away just so they didn't have to pay the property taxes anymore. Most of the deals were so small the agents couldn't make enough money to justify the effort. They're out buying and selling houses and making commissions. It all led to one thing. I was buying undervalued real estate, and I knew how and where to sell it for twice as much quickly. There's only a few better things in life than buying really undervalued real estate. And I'll tell you, none of them really come to mind at the moment, but I'll tell you, it's a good feeling. We had so many acquisition opportunities that I began to slash offer prices in half. They still sold the properties to us. We were buying property and selling it on the internet for twice and 3 times what we paid. Well, we haven't stopped since. Here's the numbers. I'm going to flash them up on the screen for you. These are cash sales only. I think they're up to 2013, and you can see for yourself. The last few years have been dedicated to terms sales, meaning that we purchase the property in the same way, but then we sell it with owner financing and collect monthly payments, from the buyer. And I'll tell you, we are building an arsenal of incoming monthly payments. Here's an example. $197 down, $200 a month for 82 months on a property that you paid $1,000 for. If you complete 50 transactions like that, you're going to be collecting $10,000 a month. It's that easy. Why have I told you all this? Because all this experience at doing these real estate deals incorrectly that I've experienced, became the foundation of doing them easily, quickly, and profitably. You get to skip all the failures and get right to the good stuff. I've shared my story with you because I really want you to see that this lifestyle and this financial success can all be yours also. If I can do this, you can do it too. One property at a time, you can get your company as big as you'd like it to be. All of the information to get a great start is in Land Academy's educational environment. I've made all of these tools that I use every day, still every day and every week, available to you for your success in this really, really simple and easy to follow package. This is your map to financial independence if you want it to be. You know, I'm glad that I get a chance to share this with you. Join me in the next section. We're going to get our feet wet a little bit with an overview of the whole program and what you can expect. As always, thank you. Hey, I'm Steve for Land Academy. I'm back. This is an overview of our program, $10,000 a month for life, cash flow from land. I'm glad you're here as always. In this section, I'll describe what the program is all about and answer a few questions that we get all the time, and I'll tell you a few stories we've experienced along the way. As a quick side note, one of the greatest treasures in this business, aside from the money and all that other stuff, and it's one of the reasons that we started Land Academy, is we get to experience and then share student and customer and land-related stories. There's tons of them, and they're great. Anyway, we've combined 30-plus years of real-life real estate experience, research, and data mining experience to bring you the most comprehensive educational program associated with buying and selling raw land on the market today. And I'll tell you, there's only two that I know about, and I'm very confident that ours is better for tons of reasons that we talk about all through the program. Hey, you chose well. Anyway, this learning set has been designed to guide you through the process of purchasing raw land and reselling it for profit on the internet. It's as simple as that. We really tried to leave no stone unturned for you. In the program, we've done our best to touch on the most common styles of learning. They're visual, seeing, like seeing these videos, auditory, hearing, kinesthetic, which is moving, so I've included tons of graphics and forms and stuff, visual aids that help you through the whole program. And then reading, with complete notes that Joe's prepared, and she did it because that's the way she learns. And it was kind of a battle that I lost, actually. And in the end, it came out great. I'm glad she had that idea. And we've also included detailed instructional videos and tutorials on the website. So log on to that, check it out. There's tons of stuff there. You'll see tutorials in what we call LATV, and they're detailed videos of how we get certain tasks done in our journey to cash flow from land. And we update them as questions come in from other students or when segments in our educational packages after they're published, they aren't quite detailed enough for certain students. So we keep up with this months and even years after we've released the initial content of the educational packages. It keeps the data up to date and fresh with current real estate market conditions also. As always, if you need extra help, please email us at service@landacademy.org. This experience is organized and it's based on the anatomy of a real estate deal, raw land style. And, that happens to be the title of our next section, actually. There's 6 basic steps to this process, but also included throughout the program are the necessary steps to make your company more permanent like ours. And I'll give you an example. Get a website going. Increase your internet presence as you go on Facebook and LandWatch, et cetera. These are good examples. So what can you expect from this experience? It's video, audio, and written tutorials about how to get your land career going in the order of the events that are needed to complete real estate deals, raw land style. So let's take a look at the next section, the anatomy of a real estate deal. Thanks. Welcome back. This is the anatomy of a real estate deal. Rural land style, actually, my favorite style. These are the 6 basic steps to the types of real estate deals we complete every week at Land Stay and have been doing so for about 15 years. We cover them extensively and in great detail all throughout the package, but I wanted to bring them up now so you can kind of really know what's coming and sleep, eat, and breathe these 6 steps in the anatomy of a real estate deal. And I hope you do thousands and thousands of them like we have. Step 1, identify a market. And I'll give you a hint. We don't buy property in Manhattan or Los Angeles. We buy property around those cities. Step 2, identify the property owners in that market. Pretty simple stuff. The county where you pay your real estate taxes has lists for you in public it's public information. But we specifically want to find the owners who are motivated to sell. Some people who are back in their taxes want to sell, and there's some other triggers that cause good stuff, reasons so you can get cheap property. Step 3, contact those owners via direct mail with a cash offer. Man, there's a right way and a wrong way to do this, and we've done them all. I'm going to show you the right way. Step 4, manage the flow of inbound accepted offers. Why is this a separate step? Because it's tougher than it sounds. You get a million phone calls in a 1 week period. You got to figure out how to handle it. Step 5, establish the criteria for the properties that you actually want to buy. Some people like 40-acre properties, some people like 4-acre properties. And then step 6, my favorite, sell the property on the internet and get some cash flow coming in. This may seem like an oversimplified concept, and I'll tell you, it is. But again, I put it up here in the beginning because I really want you to know from start to finish, end to end, what a regular deal looks like. And the faster you get into the package and really understand these concepts and execute them, the faster you're going to achieve your goal and my goal for you, which is creating a healthy income stream. Here's a short story about one of my favorite students, Ed. And I'm sharing this story with you because Ed's little company that we take a real good look at in this next segment is it's really what your company could look like not too far from now. 12 to 24 months, you could be doing really, really, really well, just like Ed did and is doing. So join me. Thank you. Hey, here's the story of Ed the Framer. Don't quit your job just yet. Ed's a personal friend of mine, and several years ago, he came to me and asked me for help to buy and sell property like we were doing, only he wanted to do it on a much smaller scale. He's a single-family residential framer with no real formal education. He saw how much money we were making, and he wanted to get in on it. It's as simple as that. I've known Ed for quite some time. He's a pretty good guy, so I set him up with how to send letters out to potential sellers, and he worked the system. After a short while, he ended up owning some pretty good property pretty inexpensively, which is kind of really why we're all here. He began to sell it on terms on the internet and then finally settled in on buying and selling about 1, maybe 2 properties per month. Each property generating about $150 of income per month, per property. So that was about 5 years ago, and I spoke with him recently, and he said he's pretty close to having 70 properties placed or sold at about $150 a month per property. So if you do the math on that, it's about $10,000 a month coming in with now it's not a lot of real work for him. So what I love about this story is that Ed has never really quit his job. He probably works a lot less than he once did, and in fact, I know he does, but he's never quit. And I think it's a great example of how you can take these concepts in this package and make them your own. This is what worked for Ed, one person. So we chose to make it into a very large LLC, a limited liability company, several LLCs, in fact. But he chose to slice out what worked for him, and he worked it and made it work. And in fact, if I were starting out in this land flipping business today, I would kind of shoot for what Ed has done. I would also include a few cash sales each month to keep kind of a good bank balance going. Some of the property that Some of the property that you purchase, you buy it and then you flip it for cash, double and triple your money. And some of the better properties you keep for a while and sell them on terms, because I think it makes a little bit more sense, to build up that income stream kind of going on. I'm going to show you what Ed's company looks like inside the computer. I want you to join me because you don't want to miss this, because it really is exactly what or it is an option for you, but it's what your company could really look like in a relative short amount of time. And then after that, I'm going to talk about the two most frequently asked questions that you're going to get from everyone once you once you get into the package and start buying and selling land. Thanks. Welcome inside the screen, friends. We are going to take at Ed's little company and what it looks like from a budgeting standpoint, or what it looks like on paper. And the reason that I'm sharing this with you this early in the package is because it's very, very important to begin thinking about what your company might look like in the future. I don't want you to worry about the Excel or spreadsheet talent portion of this in any way. These things will come to you, and frankly, it's not that necessary for you to master or even really care about Excel. Again, what is very, very important here is if you just close your eyes and think about what your company will look like in a year or a half a year or 3 years or 4 years, you will mentally begin to sort of make decisions, or really subconsciously start to make the little decisions that are required for the big picture to become put in place. So let's begin. Every spreadsheet or budget that I do comes from my accounting background, and it's a who, what, when concept. So if you are Sally Smith, this is Sally Smith's budget. Or who is it? Well, it's Sally Smith's little company. What is it? It's a budget. Let's say it's a monthly budget. And for what period is it, or when? Well, let's say we're going to start, Sally Smith started in January of 2015. So here is month one. What's going to happen in month one, which is January 2015? Well, every property that we place, we generate about $150 of income. Well, how many units do we place? We only have enough money from other sources like our job or whatnot to place one per month right now, and that's fine. Congratulations, month one accomplished. Month two, what happens? Well, the exact same thing. It's now February 15. I am doing the exact same thing I did last month. And how much did I accumulate? Well, I accumulated double. So I'm going to pause here for a second. I want you to think about this. People ask me, because a lot of people start with us as students because they know somebody in real estate who is just making a ridiculous living. And it doesn't seem like they do anything. The first podcast I ever did, I did it by myself. It's called All My Friends Think I'm a Drug Dealer. And if you haven't seen it, I mean, it's worth going back on iTunes and listening to it. It's very brief. It's only a couple of minutes. And I quit my job a lot of years ago in the early 2000s or late 90s. I can't remember. And a bunch of people came to me and said, I'm very concerned about you. You don't have a job. You have these expensive cars. You live in a great area town. We're concerned that you're selling drugs. So no, I wasn't selling drugs. And here's why. This is why they thought that. Month two, I placed 2 properties. Okay. Month 3, I've placed a total of 3 properties. And so on. So you can see where this is going to go. The reason that all these people are getting so wealthy in real estate, and you can too, is because this is a cumulative operation. So all you're really concentrating on is that new deal. The last 3 months, you placed 1 property here for a total of 3 properties. Now it's 4 properties. not a lot of work to place one property a month, everyone. 5 properties, 6, 7, and at the end of the year, what do we have? 12 months. It's now, oops. It's now December 5th, 2015. We're making $1,800 a month. So guess what happens the next month after that if everything's going well? By now you know what you're doing. You probably have a website going. You understand how to close transactions. You understand the mechanics of sending out mailers to either back tax property or not. We're going to get into all of that in the chapters after this. You understand the mechanics of it, and you're kind of in coast. And now you've got $1,800 extra a month coming in to buy new properties. So what do? We place 2 properties a month instead of 1. And guess what happens? Right? These are units placed per month. These are properties purchased and sold every single month. And again, these are cumulative units that you have that are now every month people are paying, making payments on because you sold the property. So you have enough money here to buy another property, to place 2 properties a month instead of 1. And you can imagine where this is going to go. So let's say, for sake of argument, you stick with the 2 properties a month plan. Sorry. Make this all even. Okay. So here we are when we started 12 months afterward. We started placing 2 months. But here we have now enough money to start buying 3 properties a month. Right? Very, very quickly, your monthly income's getting very large. And that is why there are so many wealthy people in real estate, because they put this whole thing in motion, and then the only thing they have to concentrate on is that month's placement. So in Ed's case, Ed just stuck with 1. So let's just, for a second, let's just pretend we're all Ed, and it's 5 years later. It's going to be 5 years later no matter what. Take this all out to 5 years. 5 years is 60 months. And here we are, 60 months later. It's January of 2000, and we're making $9,000 a month. Now, can you make a heck of a lot more than that if you choose to sell more than 1 property a month? Absolutely. This is what I would do. Right around here, when you've got about $2,200 coming in, spending $2,000 a property to place, you start doing 2. Now you've got $3,300 coming in, $1,100 each. You start doing 3, and the same thing, 44, 4. You see how big this can get if you really wanted to? Then people say, well, oh, I'm sorry, it's 34. Sorry. You see how big, though? I mean, you could very, very realistically, with not a lot of effort and some organization and spend some time on the weekends, be making $20,000 and $30,000 a month like we do, just placing new properties. So this exercise may have been a little bit more lengthy than I wanted it to be, but Ed's chosen to do 1 property a month, and we have a lot of students that do that. I also have a handful of students that have chosen to kind of go for the gold here. So please continue on with the package, and you will be amazed at what's possible if you stick with it. Thank you.
Hi, welcome to the last part of Chapter 1, the 2 most frequently asked questions in the rural land business. Number 1 is, why would anybody want that type of rural property? I've heard commercial real estate agents call it junk land or junk lots. You Google these phrases and check it out for yourself. Sometimes I've even heard them called paper subdivisions. Well, here's my answer. I guess I generated more than $20 million of junk properties, and sold them to more than 10,000 happy customers. Hey, all kidding aside, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Here's a great example. We just bought and sold, a 10-acre property in northern Arizona off of I-10 to a truck driver. He was calling us from his truck. He is now paying us about $100 a month for this next several years, and he couldn't be happier. I have hundreds and hundreds of examples of this. This is his retirement plan. So when people start telling you why, the property that you're buying way out in the sticks is useless, you're welcome to use this truck driver story, or better yet, get further along into the business and generate your own stories about this. And you can share the numbers about how much money you're collecting every month. Here's another good example. Let's say you go to a yard sale. Jill came up with this. Let's say you go to a yard sale and you find a diamond necklace in a bin of costume jewelry. You buy it for $5 because you just like the way it looks. You get it home and you find out it's worth $10,000. Hey, this is a business that you're getting into. Everybody has opinions about what successful people do. My experience has been that the more successful you get, the more opinions you're gonna get from people from all different walks of everywhere. Here's number two. Here's another frequently asked question. Number two: if you're buying and selling the property so inexpensively, well, there must be something wrong with it. Well, the simple answer is the seller, they just don't want it anymore. Nearly all of the property that we purchase and resell comes from owners who simply no longer want to own the property, and they don't want to continue to pay the annual taxes. That's what's beautiful about this business. These annual taxes keep coming up every year. We purchase tons and tons of property on referral from real estate agents who get calls from landowners, and the agents are just unwilling to take on the listings for the landowner for $1,000 or less. It's just not worth their time from a commission standpoint. I have a file this thick full of letters from grateful property owners that we purchased property from. We're actually solving their problems, and you'll find that out once you get into this. One letter comes to mind from a woman whose mother was suffering from cancer. We purchased her unwanted 40-acre property for about $4,000 or $5,000, as I recall, and she was able to use that money and take her mother to Hawaii for her final vacation together. So, here's another example. A man passed away and left all of his real estate holdings to his 3 children. And the head of the estate contacted me based on a letter that we sent the deceased father a lot of years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. We send letters expressing our interest in selling or in buying their property. So, the father obviously kept this letter in a file somewhere, and his kids found it. Anyway, the whole estate was structured so that all of the assets in the estate, these properties and every other asset that he had, needed to be liquidated or sold so that all the proceeds could be collected and then distributed. So all the assets, money goes in a pot and distributed to the 3 kids at the end. The head of the estate contacted several real estate agents in those local areas where these properties that we're talking about were located. And they're all in different states, by the way. And every real estate agent they contacted informed the head of this estate that they wouldn't list the properties because they felt that the properties had little to no value. So 15 years into this, I still can't believe it. How can property have little to no value? Well, the deal consisted of, in the end, an oceanfront property in Washington State, 2 40-acre properties in a centrally located county in Texas, and a bunch of other properties. So how these valueless assets, why they're valueless is beyond me. We paid $500 for all 7 properties, and needless to say, we did great on the transaction. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I know we made north of $50,000. So don't listen to anybody's opinion except your own throughout this whole process of accumulating wealth. You know what's best for you. If you've made it this far, you're into this. Some people aren't. So, what are the two questions? Why is it so cheap? And what's wrong with it? And then the second is, why are you buying property way out there? Hey, look, if I had a nickel for every time somebody asked me these questions, well, I do have a nickel for, well, never mind. Finally, the end of chapter 1. When is this guy going to stop talking about these silly situations and stories and get to this buy and sell thing? Thank you for your patience. I really am going to get to it. I'm sharing all this stuff up front with you because I want you to know what to expect. Up next, chapter 2. Finally, let's get your internet presence rolling. The sooner the better. I waited way too long to begin this process. Instead of 10,000 customers, we'd probably have 100,000 if I would have started in on social media 10 years earlier. Truthfully, I just didn't believe in it, and it's here to stay, obviously. So chances are, because of that, you're way further along than we are. Either way, you got to start now or enhance what you've already started. Join me. Thanks. Hey, Steve Butelli here. Thanks for being part of Land Academy. Before we start buying real property, we need to create an internet presence. This happens gradually, not overnight. The reason social media and internet presence are so important is because once you reach a person who is interested in selling or buying a piece of property, the first thing that they usually do is go to a search engine, they go to Google, and they look up your name or your company name to see if you have any credibility. So consider this. When you buy something on the internet or when you go to a restaurant, what's the first thing you really do? You check the ratings or the reviews for the place online. And right now, what's popular is Yelp and Amazon. For professionals, LinkedIn is very useful, and I would really encourage you to get a LinkedIn account as soon as possible because it lends a tremendous amount of credibility for free. So the same is true with your real estate business. The stronger your social media presence, the more likely your buy side or your sell side customers are going to pick up the phone or email you or return the letter that you sent to them to buy their property. You're leaving a trail of breadcrumbs. So nothing can hurt you this way. It can only help. Look at it this way. Land Academy reached you through some social media. My guess is what happened the first thing you did however we reached you was you checked us out on Google. You Googled us or you went to the website or whatever. But we must have convinced you somehow to move forward with participating in this program. So it's a direct result of years of building our internet presence through social media and some other land-specific sites. I call it building trust like 21st century style. So you want to do the same thing with your customers. So that being said, please don't spend a ton of time on this task, and just as well, don't skip it. You'll be buying and selling raw land in no time if you follow this program, and you'll be concentrating on getting deals done. You're going to thank us. Our students thank us that they did this in the beginning because they get it out of the way before they're too busy. All right, again, that being said, there are several people in this business who I've gotten to know over the years who have no web presence at all. In fact, they don't believe in it. They prefer to fly under the radar and sell their property to a small, tight-knit group of people at wholesale prices. And in the long run, I really think, I know they're leaving a ton of money on the table with this methodology. If it's cheap enough for me to buy property from them, they're missing out on something. So if you choose to take that path, you can make that work too. There's enough margin in all these transactions to make this stuff work. Join me in the computer and let's get started with how your company will look to the rest of the world on the internet. And so in the rest of the section, we cover choosing a name for your company. I'll give you a hint. The .com's got to be available, or the .org. Number two, let's get a simple website up and running. And a hint here, outsource this task. It's super, super cheap and fast. You don't need the website to do anything. People just need to know that you have one. Separate yourself from everybody. Number three, create usernames on social media and land-specific websites. This is all free, and it can all happen in an afternoon. Put a simple weekly schedule together to upload content to some of these places. The hint here is customers love your opinion. You've seen YouTube. There's stuff on there that I can't believe people watch. I just watched a video that a young woman did to her future husband, and it got 40 million views in like 4 weeks. So people love your opinion. They're going to check it out everywhere. And then finally, number five, some thoughts about how to structure your new entity, whether it's a sole proprietorship or a limited liability, or what makes sense for your specific situation. And I'll cover that inside of the computer and hopefully dispel some of the myths. Let's take a look.
The first step to naming your company is to kind of take a break away from it all. Take a break from your computer, your family, your regular job, and things like that. Find some place quiet and have a little brainstorm with yourself about what you want to name your company. And here I'm going to give you a couple of tips on what I think really, really works. And these tips basically are not from me. It's just a lot of research that I've done over the years about naming companies and what works well in all the environments. Try to name your company what it actually does. I think that Land Academy and Asset Holding are real good examples. Obviously Land Academy really tells you what the company's all about. We teach about land here. And then another company I've had for more than 10 years is Asset Holding, which it holds assets. That's the company that Jill and I put some of the more higher end property that we purchase for a long-term hold right in that entity, so that it can hold the asset. And once you have 2 or 3 or 10 kind of good ideas, don't necessarily have to be the exact company names, jump on over to GoDaddy and type it in. So land flip is kind of what we all do here, or what we're shooting for, and let's see if it's available. It's not. So land flip is taken, and that's fine. Let's see what else in the .com realm is available. Landflips.com is available. That's a fantastic choice, I think. Nation Flip, not so much. I don't think it says what it does. Land Throw, I don't know. Country Flip, and so on and so on. You kind of get the idea. Let's try 1 or 2 more just to see. Cheap Land. InexpensiveLand.com, $12. That's not such a bad idea. Or Cheap Land USA. I'm not a big fan of the USA extensions. But you will find, after 10 or 20 minutes, you'll find some good stuff. I've got a good friend, not a good friend, he's a colleague. His name's Billy, and he took Billy Land a long time ago, a lot of years ago. So it's not available, but I guess my point is, if your name is John, okay, $500. Let's see what else. John Lands, John Realm. So, John Empire. I like John Empire. John's building an empire. So, you get my point. Go to GoDaddy, 2 syllables, facebook.com.org. Stick with that. I would stay away from dashes or hyphens or any of that silly stuff. And then my final point here is, keep in mind that whatever you choose, and let's say it's John Land or Sally Land or Land Flips, it's going to be in the future at some point, if you choose it to be, your social media username. So it's real simple to get, and we're going to talk about this in the next few sections. It's real simple to go onto Facebook and get John's Land or Land Flips as a
as an extension of your existing Facebook account or a new Facebook account. So my point is, the social media, choose a name that's going to convert easily to social media. One of the original companies that I had was called Mission Equity Properties, and I ran out and got that. This is in the 90s or the early 2000s. Ran out and got that .com, and it was way too many characters and way too many syllables, and it didn't convert well to social media, or it didn't convert well to anything, email addresses or anything. Keep that in mind too. If your name's John, it's going to be John at missionequityproperties.com. You don't want that. You want John at johnsland.com or John at, you know what I'm saying. Bear in mind that you need a short name, and it needs to convert well and really kind of describe what you want your company to be. Join us in the next section. Thank you. Now that you've named your company, step 2 is to create a website. And I really don't want you to spend a tremendous amount of time or energy on this. Start with a single page static website, or some people call it a landing page. Between 1999 and about 2009, I had a single page website that did absolutely nothing except describe what we are and had a picture. That site is long since gone. We're now Landstay. That company used to be called Mission Equity Properties. So it's super cheap, and in some cases actually free. If you do want to spend some time on it, I would recommend that you don't, that you really actually spend time on learning how to buy inexpensive land and subsequently selling it. But if tech is your thing, you know what I'm talking about, set up a simple single page landing site. So I'm going to, in case you really want to just get this done quickly for not a lot of money, go to the resources page at landacademy.org, right here, and I will have we'll have listed several places that you can accomplish this. GoDaddy's a fantastic host. We use it, and then there's several other places. Check out the resources page, and we give you quick, easy, and inexpensive direction to get that completely done. If you want to, the other places that you can go, if you want to spend a little bit more time on this, you can go to Craigslist or Odesk or Fiverr. All of those places are good places on the internet. They're inexpensive, and you can find tech people all over the world that'll accomplish this for you almost overnight. I mentioned GoDaddy. Bluehost is a great place to also host your website. Buying a domain name should cost you about $10 or $12 a year. Hosting it should cost, almost next to nothing. And getting the site done, if you spend more than $100 to $200 on this whole thing, I think you're spending way too much. So if you get stuck with it, let me know, and we'll point you in the right direction. Thanks.
Hey, welcome back. In this next section, we create usernames on the internet for the various places around the internet where you are actually going to post the property to sell it after you buy it. Please don't skip this step, because I'll tell you, I don't want you to go from A to B. I don't want you to go from A to D and then back to B, because in the next few sections in this package, we're going to spend a lot of time and energy purchasing property. We're going to spend time on acquisitions, and I don't want you to, after that's done, have to spend a lot of energy going backwards to figure out how to sell it and let this stuff, I don't want to go out of order. So join me in the computer, and we'll take a short look at how we set up these usernames, and maybe more importantly, where we set them up. Thanks.
Step 3, create usernames on the internet. Why? So you can sell the property that you buy. If you've been kind of half listening to this program up till now and picking and choosing what you really think applies to you, I want you to to drop whatever you're doing and really listen to this portion of this, because it's imperative and it's going to make you tons and tons of money. I've generated $20 million posting property on the internet, and none of it could have happened if I skipped this step. So please, please listen to this closely and watch. I want you to go to these following sites and create usernames. Some of them you may have if you're into the real estate business or not, or some of you might just have because you're on the internet a lot. But if you need to see examples, check the ones that we have, landstay.com and landacademy.com. We're plastered all over the place. I put this in here because it's true. This task is imperative. You know, if you want to sell property on the real estate property on the internet, you need to have usernames on these 4 websites. There may or may not be more by the time that you view this, and we constantly update things at landacademy.org to make sure that you've got the latest. But number 1 is eBay. A lot of people are still shocked by this. I'm used to it because I'm in for 15 or 16 years. But if you go to eBay, there's a real estate category down here. And there's a lot of land posted. eBay is an incredible resource. All right, there's 500 land listings all over the country right now. What I love to do is go to completed listings. I'm not real concerned about, I'm going to go back for a second, what's posted up here. It's kind of like what's for sale. Well, I'm not as much concerned about what's for sale as I am what's hot. Like, this is clearly hot because a lot of people are looking at it. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. This is our property. Joe must have posted. 3 people an hour are looking at this. I swear that was not contrived. All right, apparently we know what we're doing. Wouldn't it be funny if this was ours too? It's not. Okay. I feel better. All right, so my point is, go to the completed listings and check out what's going on. I'm going to go back to Arizona. Excuse me. I'm sorry for jumping around. That frazzled me. I can't believe we have a property like that right during a session like this. But okay. Let's look at a property that's being sold, and I'm going to go through the kind of the anatomy of what you can expect and why it's so incredibly important to have a username and a password on these sites here. Whoops. Here's a property. My goodness. Here's a property that is clearly 5 acres and way up in northern Arizona that somebody purchased for $2,100 plus whatever doc fee they had. We're going to cover all this throughout the program, but we charge a doc prep fee because we can. This property's 5 acres. It's sold for $2,100. I wouldn't pay. We have property in this area all the time. I pay between $100 and $500. $500 is max for 5 acres of land, and he sold it for $2,200. Or she. Now, you don't need a calculator for this kind of math, and this is going to be the kind of the mainstay of the business that you're getting into. So he made let's just call between everything all said and done, he made $1,500 on this. So if you do 2 of these a weekend, believe me, if you can find one for sale, you're going to find 500. If you do 2 of these a weekend, you make $3,000 a weekend, and it's going to take you, once you get all into it and get the confidence where you need to be, it's going to take maybe 2 hours a weekend. You do 2 of those, you're making $3,000 a weekend. You know, that's $12,000 a month for your little part-time gig. So it's eBay. eBay is a fantastic, unbelievably fantastic, fantastic exposure place to sell real estate. So please go get a username as fast as you can. See, 1,300 people were exposed to this property. You don't have to have a website. You don't have to have anything except a piece of real estate to immediately start making money. Since we're in here, I'm going to show a couple other things. The 30-day auction, which we always teach. 6 bids, 5 bidders, and then what you want to do, always do on eBay, is make sure it sells on Sunday around 6 p.m. I don't know, May 15th. That's eBay. Please go get a username and password. We cover how you can make tons and tons of money on this site. all throughout the package. Number 2, Postlets. Let me tell you a quick story too while Postlets is loading. I just got an email yesterday. I got an email from a guy, and he says, "This is the email. Your system works perfectly! Exclamation point. Help! I don't know how to close the deal." So this guy, bless his heart, gets involved with Land Academy, goes through all the necessary steps. Well, not all of them. Some of the necessary steps. I think after speaking with him, I think he picked and chose the ones that he was interested in, bought a piece of property just like we buy for very little amount of money, posted it on Craigslist, and expected to have 2 or 3 weeks to do his homework to find out how to sell it. Well, it sold in 2 hours. And he's just up in arms. He doesn't know how to close the deal. He doesn't have the paperwork. He hasn't gone through the necessary steps to understand what to do when that happens. So, and now he's staring at, making $10,000 on this piece of property, and he doesn't know how to close the deal. So I don't want that to happen to you. Please go through these necessary steps. I know they take a little bit of extra time, but go out there, get yourself a username on eBay, do a bunch of research, horse around on your state area. We're going to get to that in the next section. Horse around and see what's going on in, let's say, New York, Oregon, and Texas, or whatever, and take a look. System works. Postlets, quite simply, is a feed. It's a very simple way to input a piece of property that you own and get it listed on Zillow. Let's take a look at a property quickly. Here's all the land on Zillow. Look, here's $6,800. 1 acre. That's amazing. I mean, it's amazingly good. Postlets is a feed to Zillow and Trulia, which are the 2 sites. They're mostly designed to sell houses, but there's a lot of land on here. So there's 4 or 5 things you do once you buy a piece of property later in the package, and Postlets you want to reach people. All right, we talk about reach every single corner of this thing. Postlets is another way to quickly reach a ton of people. eBay's one, Postlets is one, Landwatch is one. Landwatch is the site to go to for professionals who sell real estate. Anybody who's selling land in the business is on Landwatch. So let's take a look at an example. Arizona, Navajo County. I want to buy a property that is between 11 and 50 acres, and I want it to be absolutely ridiculously cheap. Here's 13 acres for $7,000, and you can tell it's nobody. There's different limits of who can. There's different subscription types. There's expensive kind like we have, or just the regular kind. And you need to buy get the one that's the cheapest when you start, if not for free. And that's it. Short little description. Probably paid somebody to take some pictures. Closing costs are $100. $7,000 for 21 acres in northern Arizona, and I would not pay more than $2,000 for that property. I would probably pay a lot less right now because we have so many properties coming in. So there you go. We talk about the weekend situation where you try to do a couple on the weekend. Let's say this property sells, for $6,000, and you're into it for 2. You made $4,000 that week. That's one a weekend. It's $16,000 a month. So please get a Landwatch subscription and spend some research time on here, looking in your area to see what's for sale, and then you can gauge on how much you can pay. I mean, you're going to ultimately decide how much you're going to pay about when these properties start coming in. So this is a great way to see what they sell for. And then finally, Craigslist. I love Craigslist, and I'll tell you why. And for a very specific type of property. I always type in acres here, no matter. This is Phoenix Craigslist. Craigslist. You should do it. You should do it for yours, for your area. There's a real specific type of property on Craigslist that sells well, and it's like a property that you would put a cabin on or a second home. For some reason, there is a lot of people on the weekend. They go out onto Craigslist and they try to buy, a property that they want to put a cabin on or something like that, or invest in. This is a great example. Look, so here's a property that's an acre that's in Coconino County, which we've done a ton of stuff in. We buy these for between $100 and $600 all the time. This person's selling it for $2,500, which is a pretty smoking deal. $150 down, $128 a month for a lot of years. Probably a student, actually. So use Craigslist for a real specific type of property. We talk about it again later in the sales portion of the package, which is actually pretty close to the end. Um, Retreat slash cabin slash not real serious investment property does really really well here. Same kind of thing. So my point is, if I haven't made it 42 times, please go get usernames to these four sites and take a look what's out there in your area of concentration, so you get a real good feeling for the real estate market. And then you also have, or you're beginning a username history on all of these things. Like on eBay specifically, it says, you've been a member for 5 years, or you've been a member for 2 years, or you've been a member for 20 minutes. So you want to keep that. You want to get that rolling right now. All right, tier two, not as important, but highly suggested. Go out, just get yourself a Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, and Twitter account now, so you can begin that ball. Those are all free. And then what you want to do, and we'll talk about it in great detail shortly, is get yourself up on a schedule. This is actually the next section. Set yourself up on a weekly schedule where you're very, very simply updating these social media sites as to what you're doing, kind of like in your life and in your life that week. And I'll tell you, it doesn't have to be anything other than I'm learning about how to buy real estate. And then next week is we just sent a mail campaign out, and then the next week, and you will organically start to get followers. You will be amazed at the stuff, the people that are so interested in the comments and things that you have to say about. And it might seem like nothing to you, but it's actually, you will be amazed. So I'm going to tell you a quick story about social media, specifically about cell phones, because I'm old enough to remember when cell phones hit the market. And at that time, I had several older friends who and colleagues that they thought it was a fad. They didn't think it was really going to catch on. And they refused to get one, or if they did have one, they refused to upgrade it. So, needless to say, we all know what I mean. Can you imagine living without your phone now? There's no way. The same thing is true with social media. There's no reason to hold out, and fight this social media presence. I fought it for a lot of years. I'll be real straight with you about this. I got a Facebook account probably 12 years, 12 to at least 10 years long, past when I should have gotten one. We have, I don't know, 10,000 customers now or more, just with the land, I mean, not Land Academy. And we could have 100,000 if I would have started doing this a long time ago. So don't be like me. Don't fight this thing. Go out there and do it. It really, really works. And, your success in this business is directly linked to the quality of your presence and presentation on the internet. So please don't take it lightly. Hi, in this section, we take a look at putting together a weekly schedule to provide content to these various places on the internet so they don't kind of get stale. How many times have you logged on to somebody's website that you're actually pretty interested in and you found out they haven't done a short blog for a year? I mean, it's an immediate turnoff. So what we want to do is avoid that. And again, we don't want to go, like we talked about in the last section, from A to D back to B. So it's real simple to spend, I don't know, maybe a half hour or an hour a week updating these places on the internet to make it look fresh and good. Join me on the computer. Put a simple weekly schedule together to upload content to these places on the internet. So we've already talked about the imperative places to get involved in on the internet, like Landwatch and eBay and the ones in the module right before this, or the section right before this. These are the secondary places that you may or may not want to get involved in. All of our younger students love it. They announce on Facebook and Instagram and things like that to everybody who's following them that they're purchasing property and they're involved in this. If you're a little bit older and really, really not into this portion of social media, and you really just want to get into buying and selling land, skip over to the next section. But I will tell you, I'm 100% confident you are going to, once you start buying and selling land, you're going to regret that you didn't get involved in it, because you're just kind of kicking the can down the road. These things are incredibly powerful. The people who buy property from you are going to check Facebook and some of these other sites at some point just to see if you're credible. So is it going to stop you from being successful if you just skip right over this? No. As I've said earlier, I avoided it for more than a decade, and did fine. But this is part of life now. So I would highly recommend that you get usernames like I suggested previously and get involved in doing it. I wouldn't spend 10 or 20 hours on it, but I really think it's important to know about it and to take it seriously. And in a perfect world, upload content every week, let's say Wednesday or Sunday, or get in some type of half-hour schedule every week where you tell the whole world what you're up to. So this is what I mean by a simple schedule, and let's run through it. I have a version of this for Land Academy and for Landstay, and I have virtual assistants that help me. But you may or may not have that. But let's take a look at what it basically looks like. You've got your social media schedule here, and I'll tell you, I simply I do all the social media like in 1 hour in the morning on Monday. Usually Monday's pretty busy, so we'll just do it like this. Post to Facebook. Now let me tell you a trick here, and do a post, right? Especially in the beginning, just post something that says on each one of your usernames, even if you have 0 followers, just trust me, start to do it so when you do have followers a year from now, they can look back and see that you posted stuff a year ago. That's really what we're getting at with this exercise, and that you're religious about it every single week, posting something that said, hey all, I just got into the rural land business. Wish me luck. That's all you have to do on all of these sites. On some of these sites, like they want a picture, so shoot a picture of yourself in front of the computer. And then the next week rolls around. I'm a little bit further involved. Something like that. So you have a huge, long history about how this works on Facebook. I'm not sure if we get into this in the package or not. I'll make sure that we do at some point. On Facebook, you can have, at least when we're at the time of publishing this, you can have, your regular Sally Smith, and then you can attach Land Academy or John's company or whatever you name your company. You can attach it to it, and it has its own page, but you can designate it as a separate business. So all the people that have been following you anyway kind of know what you're doing and can cheer you on, and it's pretty cool. It's worth looking into. It's beyond the scope of what we're going to go into right here, but it really does, I think, it's made a huge difference for us, for the number of people that have found us on the internet. So I wish you luck in this. If you have any questions, as always, contact us here. Thanks. See you in the next one. So we're just about done with chapter 2, and I put together, this is I think 2.5 now, at the end of chapter 2. In the next section, we're going to actually take a look at buying and selling land finally. But I threw this together at the end of the last chapter, last chapter 2. It's regarding buying or putting together an LLC and whether or not it's required for you to look at some of the pros and cons. I mean, the two ways to do it are an LLC, right now at this level, an LLC, a limited liability company, and a sole proprietorship, which essentially means I buy the property under my name. Or if you're Sally Smith, you buy the property under Sally Smith's name. I buy the property under Steve Butella's name. And we convey it that way. So let's take a quick look at the pros and cons of both. Thanks. Section 5, LLC versus sole proprietor. This is the last subsection of Get the Internet Presence Ball Rolling. And I wanted to fit it into the early part of the package so you can just start thinking about it. It doesn't require any action on your part for most of you. There are two ways that you can operate this business. Both of them have advantages and disadvantages. One is an LLC, or a limited liability company, and the other is a sole proprietor, which you already are just by kind of walking around and doing what you do. So here's the differences. A limited liability company is an actual company or a legal entity with shareholders. So if you started one, you would probably start it and you would be the sole shareholder. You would own 100% of the stock, and it would be filed with some state somewhere. Incidentally, you don't have to file for approval in a state where you live. So if you live in Massachusetts, you can do a Delaware corporation or a Nevada corporation. They all have different rules. Nevada is known for not having to divulge or disclose for anybody who the owner of a company is. So if you own a company, if you own a piece of property and it's in your company's name, let's XYZ LLC, a Nevada company, it's virtually impossible unless there's some kind of subpoena for anyone to find out who owns that company. I don't know why you'd want to do that. I kind of personally live on the internet and my face is out there, and we stand behind what we sell. But I'm just saying, for education and knowledge it's possible. I'll give you an example. All of our companies, by the way, are in Arizona. I'll give you an example. I'm going to use Jill my partner Jill as an example. She owns a company called Pilot Equity LLC, and some of the property that we purchased we put in there. Some we put in my companies. We don't actually have a company together for some reason. I don't know why. I have no idea why. But anyway, that's just kind of what happens. So she filed for. It's very, very simple to get one of these. They don't look at really anything. I've never had one turned down. Let me put it that way. So that's one way. A limited liability company. In the bottom here, we're going to talk about what the advantages and disadvantages. These are kind of just the definitions. And then number 2, the sole proprietorship, or as an individual. So it's the same way you usually buy a house or a car. You put it in your individual name, and it's filed that way through whatever it is, the corporate commission in your state. I guess you file a mortgage with the county just the same way you do with real estate, and then a car with like the motor vehicle division. So incidentally, you can put any of those things, a house, a car, or any of that, if you own a company, into a liability, limited liability company. There's a lot of different types of companies. I have an accounting background. We could spend 4 hours on this. but you probably want to start buying and selling land, and I want to talk about that too. So, which, by the way, is the next section. So, let's kind of just get through this. Advantages and disadvantages. The two big issues with the way that you take title to property is tax and liability. We all want to pay less taxes, and we all want to have less liability, less exposure to risk. So here's the deal: if something goes wrong, this this liability company that you set up, it gets sued. Whoever's upset about something sues the company, and only the assets that are in this company, the stuff the company owns, whether it's furniture or real estate or anything or a helicopter, that's at risk or at stake. If something goes wrong and the property is in your name, like this, everything that you own is at stake. Every single thing. So, your house, everything that's in your name. So that's a pretty big issue. I'll tell you, we've done more than 15,000 transactions in the last 15 years, and the number of times that we've had any type of issue, man, we've never gone to court over anything. I don't think we've ever really been sued. So, I mean, it doesn't happen all the time. And usually what ends up happening if somebody, in very few cases, people they have buyer's remorse. They want their money back. So you give it to them and you go back out and sell the property, usually for more. So there's no real issues with that, but you do want to protect yourself because there are crazy people out there. So my point in telling you all this is that I just want you to be aware of the differences, in the two ways to take title to property. So as far as tax goes, if you own a company, a limited liability company, it's a lot, and you're taking a salary, which is how we have everything set up here. If you're taking a salary to sort of live on it, and all the real money that you seriously make stays in the company, there's a lot of tax advantages to that because you're not getting taxed on everything constantly, and it's easier to do in an LLC. I'll just leave it at that. I would highly recommend that you check with the counties or a county. In a county is my way of putting an accountant and an attorney together. Check with your accountant. Check with your attorney. If you don't have them, ask us a bunch of questions. We'll try to answer them for you. I really can't stand when people say, "Oh my God, I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice." Like, that's a disclaimer. I mean, I'll tell you what I know and take it for what it is, both from a legal standpoint and from an accounting standpoint. Let's see, what else? This only applies, this limited liability exposure only applies to civil stuff like you took my money. It's not criminal. There are a lot of criminal things not a lot. There are several criminal things that can happen with real estate, like selling property 2 and 3 and 4 times. The big example that always comes up, people ask me all about environmental stuff. Like if you buy a piece of property in northern Arizona or Minnesota or something like that, and there's an environmental dump. This has never happened to me. Don't worry about it. I'm just using it as an example. The feds are not going to just look at the company and hold the company liable. They're not going to play that game. They will seek you out individually. So my point is just to educate you that the limited liability is not a catch-all. It doesn't exempt you from behaving well and doing the right thing. I'm just saying there's differences, civil issues and criminal issues. I hope that's clear. And then there's a trade-off. So the LLC costs money. It costs between $500 and $1,000 to get an LLC, usually through an attorney. If you do it yourself, it's a lot less, and it's really just a matter of filing papers and stuff. But then it costs an extra $1,000 to file it, usually on the back of your personal tax return. So it's an extra $1,000 a year. We do it. We have multiple companies and we do it every year. Here's my final thought. What should you do as a new person in the business? You should do the same thing that I did and the same thing that just about every single person does. Do a few deals as a sole proprietor. Put them in your name. Put them in Jill DeWitt's name or Sally Smith's name or Steve Butella's name. And then once you're comfortable with it and some stuff's happening and it's all good, and you're staring down at a paper that you got 25 properties that some widow wants to sell quickly for $12 each, maybe it might be time to file the paperwork for an LLC. When you get to that point, email me or email somebody here at Land Academy. We'll help you out with it. I really wanted to make you aware of the two ways you can take title to property. Well, I'll tell you, you did it. We got through the first two chapters of kind of administrative, what you can expect stuff. The next chapter is let's pick out an area and let's start buying some property. Thank you for your patience, and I will see you in a few seconds. Hey, you did it. You got past chapter 1 and 2, and now the good stuff starts. Join me in chapter 3, where we actually start buying real estate finally.